Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to What is America to You. I'm your host, Dempsey, and we're coming at you from a pre-snow, in-between snow New York. Look at that sky, it's blue. Tomorrow, the next day, we got snow. Can you come along and do my snow for me tomorrow?
I don't know how much money you got.
None! Okay, when I say we are coming at you from New York, me and Jessica.
Welcome back, everybody.
Look, the Zoom, GoPro, look at this technology. We're going to be out to space soon. Okay, so before we start and introduce you to our next guest, we as always, we love the comments. Somebody from 30 years ago just commented on the page, so I'm going to make contact with that guy, Anthony. Also, we really have frozen with subscribers, so please subscribe. We need you. We really do. Bringing you all this great content. We need subscribers and likes. We love the likes. No thumbs down yet.
No.
But we did have a complaint recently that we weren't diverse.
Yeah, that's one, but that's fine. We've done how many shows now? Like 20 shows, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 20 shows. Man.
We're diverse. We have an Irish guy.
There we go.
Okay, so our next guest has played with incredible artists, and I'm just going to read a few of them to you. Carly Simon, Dionne Warwick, Queen Latifah, Willie Nelson, Hall & Oates, Linda Eder, I can never pronounce her name right, Sophie B. Hawkins, Andrea Bocelli, Jimmy Webb, Chris Christopherson, Leonard Bernstein. Let that just ring for a minute. Julie Taymor, Leslie Gore, Crash Test Dummies, The Platters. A lot of people won't even know who The Platters are. That's amazing to me. And Harvey Fierstein, who I probably pronounced wrong as well. But anyway, that's some of the people that our next guest has played with. Carly Simon said of our next guest, he is a musician you meet early in your career, and all of a sudden you're 70 and you're lucky enough still to be playing and writing with him. He has just released a CD called A Time Machine, which went to number 9 on the top album of the 50 alternative album chart. Also with the single Don't Ever Go Away, number 6 on the top 50 alternative folk song chart. And also number 1 on some radio stations. Here's a great quote from the Boston Globe. Calo is captivating. Peter is a masterful guitarist, which he clearly is. And so now you know who our guest is. So without further ado, we would like to introduce to you, welcome to What is America to You, Peter Calo. How are you this morning, Peter?
Thank you for having me, Derek and Jessica. And it's humbling to hear those words back. I don't know what to say now.
You know, we have guests on, they say when all of their life is put together in this quick blurb, it's like mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing, yeah.
And
you are mind-blowing, Peter.
Well, Calo is captivating.
Calo is captivating. That's why he wrote it, right? It just sounded good.
Well, it's good when you get that, you know.
It's nice.
There's many people stand out there for me, but Jimmy Webb and Leonard Bernstein. I mean, could you tell us a little bit about your work capacity, both of those?
Well, I used to live up in Boston, and back in the late 80s, there was a friend of mine called me up and said, how would you like to do an opera, right? You know, play in the opera. We need you to play guitar and banjo. And I don't know if I played banjo or if I just went out and bought one and said, sure, I play banjo. And we had a rehearsal, and then at the rehearsal they said, can you, Peter sings. And they said, well, we're looking for a singer to be the rock singer, which was one of the roles in this opera. And so I auditioned. I think I sang some Sam Cooke song, whatever came to mind with the piano player. I sang Bring It On Home or something like that. Yes. And they said, okay, you've got the gig. So I'm going, and so naively I say, well, do I get paid more money? Because that's the only reason I did it. Why would I want to sing if I'm not getting paid more money? I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. So basically, I'm in an opera now, and I'm being staged. And I think the woman who was doing the choreography had worked on West Side Story. I mean, there was like an amazing cast of characters. And Leonard Bernstein is there supervising. And I'm not sure if he actually conducted, but he was the supervisor because it was the Boston premiere. And so at the end of each performance, he would come up and he would give me a hug over the lead actor. But at each rehearsal, I kept getting further and further down, closer to the last. So I was the second to the last bow, whereas, they rehearse the bows.
I did not know that.
Yes. So you have to take your bow, and they kept moving me. And it was like an odd thing because I'm going, what's going on here? So it was quite an experience. But with Jimmy Webb, I met him when Carly Simon recorded, I think it was a Grammy-nominated record called Film Noir, where she was doing all music from, that film noir period, like Laura, etc., Two Sleepy People. I'm not sure if that's a film noir song, but anyway, he was the producer of the record, and they had all different people coming in and orchestrating. It was like a mind-blowing experience. Arif Mardin was one of the arrangers, and it was just amazing.
Wow, all those legends, well, I'm a huge opera fan, so I'm wondering, do you remember the name of the opera? Was it Bernstein, or was it?
It was the Bernstein Mass, which I don't know if you've seen it. It's like we would say, it's got everything in it, including the kitchen sink. It was like blues music, rock music, but his interpretation. You know what I mean? It wasn't really rock. But my role was I was the rock singer, and I had to sing, and I had to sing a high C for 2.5 bars, and I had two dancers holding onto my legs because they're worshiping me. You see,
if they had held a bit higher, you could have hit the high C forever.
Exactly, I'd still be holding it
and be divorced.
This is pre-marriage.
Okay, then you're good.
Yeah. No, it's quite a thing.
And then you mentioned singing. I love Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke, to me, I always say this when I'm singing. I got Frank Sinatra here and Sam Cooke here, and I can never get it right. But you love Sam Cooke?
I love Sam Cooke. He's one of my heroes. The golden trilogy for me is Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, and James Brown. Those three guys are killer to me. The funk is a big part of my life, although you wouldn't hear it in a lot of the music I perform nowadays, but I come from that kind of a background. When I was in high school, I was playing in a funk band with like 30-year-olds, and that was my schooling.
Now, did you play bass or guitar in that funk?
Guitar.
Always guitar. You are a multi-instrumentalist and ambidextrous, so you probably...
Usually when I play bass, I'm in the studio. I have a home studio, and I'll play bass on tracks for people. But
right, which leads us perfectly into, you were in a documentary, All You Need Is Klaus. Could you tell us a little bit about the famous Klaus, whoever you say his last name?
Klaus Voormann. Klaus Voormann. Well, Klaus Voormann, he is the famous bass intro on "You're So Vain." If you know that song.
Yep.
And so that's Klaus Voormann, and so a German production team, because he's quite a legend in Germany. That's where he's from, Hamburg, and so they were doing a documentary on Klaus, and so one of the stops was to spend a weekend with Carly Simon, who I happened to be doing a lot of work with at the time. So Carly called me up and said, would you come up for the weekend and spend time with myself and Klaus? And they want to just play some music and hang out. So it was, that's how I got to meet Klaus, and he and I would go off and jam, and he's a really beautiful guy. In fact, I dug up this book that he gave me. It's called, can you see this?
Yeah.
4 Tracks. So it's sketches of his, about the Beatles and Hamburg at that time. So these are the Beatles. That's Klaus when he's a kid, but that's like Paul. I don't know who that is. That looks like George. And he sketched it out. And like, for instance, this would be one of the sketches where he's saying, what people would, the boots up higher.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So he sketched, it's just an interesting little book. Here's how you did the hair, right?
Right. Oh, man.
He did a little thing, and he gave me this copy, and we hung out, and and they did this documentary, and it came out, and I was surprised that I was in it, frankly, because all we were doing was playing, and they were filming everything. And one day we were after dinner, he and I went off and jammed on Imagine. Now I didn't know he played on Imagine at the time. I mean, I knew he did he drew the Revolver album, but I didn't know much about him except the Revolver album. I knew he was a bass player, but I didn't know to what extent he played on a lot of my favorite records. And I didn't know this. And I looked it up after the fact. I'm glad it was after the fact. Right. But one day we were jamming on Imagine, and in the film, they showed us jamming on Imagine, and then it became the underscore with John Lennon talking about bringing Imagine to the band for the first time. And that sent shivers up my spine. That was a moment for me.
I can imagine. Well, look, Lennon, funny enough, I'm not a huge Beatles fan. I went off on a Bowie and Sinatra trip, but I understand the songs are incredible, would be too small of a word to use. But I was watching the video for the second or third time, the documentary Above Us Only Sky, and Klaus is in that, and he seems like such a gentle spirit.
He was one of the nicest people I've ever met. He's a beautiful guy, instant friend. What can you say? And the beautiful thing, one of the questions I asked him was, I said, what was it like seeing the Beatles for the first time? And he said, the very first time I saw them was the very best, because they were raw. They were these kids, and you didn't know what this was. And they do anything. After that, they started getting polished. And he said it all changed. So I can't imagine what that must have been like, but walking into a small bar and seeing this charismatic bunch of people, it's a free-for-all, but you're just like, you can't take your eyes off of them for some reason. But he's like called the first fan, really.
Amazing. Now, just before we leave the book, is that a limited edition, or is it?
That's a good question. I mean, it is a printed book, but I don't know where you can get it or anything. It's just like, there's a picture of John.
It's brilliant. That is brilliant.
And it's funny because I had a T-shirt. I have two T-shirts. One is a white T-shirt of Revolver, and one's a black T-shirt of Revolver. And I brought it up with me because I happened to just coincidentally buy it. And I said, "Oh, I'll get his autograph." And he's looking at it. He goes, "I've never seen this." Like, he doesn't see any money from any of this stuff. So I felt bad, but
wow,
it's funny. His autograph.
I was listening to a guy that worked with Bowie. He was friends with Bowie in school, and he became his back. Goff McCormick or Jeff McCormick. I always get mixed up with the G and D. Anyway, he was friends with Bowie, went on tour with Bowie in the early 70s, and he co-wrote When You Rock and Roll With Me from Diamond Dogs, but he had a stage name called War and Peace, playing War and Peace. And he said to this day, he never got any credit for that song.
Oh, wow.
And he said, I don't care, just being there. And he said, look, I played the intro and a couple of bits and pieces, and David said, oh, that sounds good. What was that again? And then he just comes in with a song. But, it wouldn't have happened if he wasn't there. That happens a lot. I know what happened with Miles Davis. I think Miles Davis or Charlie Parker, there was some mix-up there with Donna Lee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a big money mix-up there,
Wow.
So it happens. I want to ask you about Jimmy Webb. I know you said a little bit about him earlier on. What a songwriter he is, first of all. I mean,
yeah, he's amazing. He's one of my favorite people. I mean, I can't say enough about him. He's smart, great storyteller, great guy. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, and to think that he wrote that, who else is going to write "Someone Left the Cake Out in the Rain"? And the lyric I love in that, I think I might have mentioned on here before, is "I will take my life into my hands and I will use it." There's a clever way of writing, make you feel like, oh my God, he's going to do something bad, and then just to twist that phrase.
The moon is a harsh mistress. Just that title.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a beautiful song. You should cover that one, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom Wopat. You know Tom Wopat?
I don't, but I will. Yeah, I'll remedy that.
But he covered it, and he used to come out, and we'd be playing like a 1,000-seat theater, and he'd go to the edge of the stage without any instrument and just sing it. It was quite a moment.
And
Really,
what's this guy's name?
Wopat. He was with the Dukes of Hazzard,
Oh, right.
American TV show. I'm sure you didn't grow up with it, but do some checking up on it. But he's a great singer, Tom Wopat.
Well,
And he comes from the Broadway Sinatra. He's got that smooth voice,
Right.
show kind of voice, but very good voice. Anyway,
now, when you say Dukes of Hazzard, that was the orange car?
yeah.
Right, so I did notice that, and the reason I noticed it was because, what was the girl's name? Barbara Bach, was that her name?
Was Barbara Bach, or was that the sister? Because there was Kathleen Bach. I mean, there was the sisters.
Right,
and
right.
Barbara Bach married Ringo, and the other
Right.
sister was in the Dukes of Hazzard.
Well, that was the one, my eyes always got caught by her legs.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I couldn't help but see it.
yeah.
You know, didn't care about the cars.
Her costumes were quite, yeah, nice.
Well, we move on.
We'll move on.
This is not a family show, so we don't care. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was very aware of legs from a very early age. But anyway, well, I was saying to Jessica, like listening to your music and listening to you singing. One time I'm listening, I'm thinking there's a touch of Dan Fogelberg in your music. Then I'm going, there's a touch of Sting in here. And then I listened to your Elephants Never Forget. Am I correct with that title?
That is it.
And you know, we talked on the phone last week, and we talked a little earlier on, and I love what you said. You were singing a song somewhere in the club live, and you were cracking jokes with the audience, but you said something about elephants and their compassion. Can you remember what it was you said?
Well, what I was pointing out was that they had a lot of compassion for each other. And one thing that elephants will do is when a loved one of their group passes away, they'll go back the following year and they'll put leaves and branches on the elephant to pay respects. I assume to pay respect, but just to remember. And they're very compassionate and friendly, and they'll bring the people into their herd. It's not really called a herd, but they're amazing people. But my young daughter, Molly, she was really into elephants for a while, and she was also picked up the drums, and we were jamming one day, and I started with this groove, and I said, oh, what should this song be about? Well, let's write a song. What should this song be about? And I said, how about elephants? And it kind of grew from there. So I had to actually think about how you're going to present elephants, and like, what do you to write a song about elephants. And at first you're thinking, oh, this is going to be a kid's song, but it turned out a little bit differently. It kind of became what it became.
Well, it's funny because that's the first thing that stood out to me. The groove in it brought to mind a herd of elephants moving across a landscape.
Yeah.
So I can see why that happened. But
Yeah.
the reason why I connected that was, I always say the least compassionate creatures on the planet are us, humans,
Can be.
Generally speaking, on a whole. And my daughter, I haven't had a bracelet for years. I wore it. I had elephants on it. I just stopped wearing it because I got this new one. But my daughter also loved elephants. Horses as well. I love horses. There's something about that. They're so grand,
Grand.
I love that. It's a great song.
Well, my father, one of the words that he would always say is, you have to have compassion. Have compassion for people. And I never quite knew what that meant as a younger person. I mean, I knew what the word meant, but put yourself in that person's place.
Yep.
And
that's why that stood out to me, Peter, so much, because it might sound all, peace, love, and understanding and hippie and boring, but it's something that in short supply.
It's hard.
More
It's
and
hard
more.
to put yourself in the other person's place. That's for darn sure. So yeah. I mean, if you can practice that in your life, and sometimes people will get upset with you if something's happening and somebody's upset, and you're going, well, maybe that person's having a bad day. That's the last thing your friend wants to hear when they're like,
True. Well,
cut me off. It's hard. It's hard on your day-to-day life, especially when you live in a city like New York, to take everything and just, oh, that's okay,
Yeah. Well, no, it absolutely is. But it's another thing that we talk about at home is people need to be heard. They need to be heard. It's kind of like when somebody's angry, the last thing that that you should do is shut them down.
Yeah.
It's to let them get it out of their system, and,
Yeah.
and let them talk, let them be heard. We're not heard enough.
Really hard stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
really hard stuff. But that's where that came from, is that I was like, when I started reading about elephants and realizing their sense of community was, wow, this is mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're-
Now your daughter Molly, what age is she now?
She's just turned 17 in December.
All right, man. And you have 2 or 3 daughters.
Three girls, 17, 19, 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. I love the fact I was just talking to both of my daughters the other night, and I think it's one of the greatest things is to raise daughters.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my favorite things.
A wonderful thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Now I know that you have this thing coming up to do with Carly Simon. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I have I have a partner, Ann Carpenter, and we've been doing shows together. And there's a theater that Jessica works for as well, called the Schoolhouse Theater, and they're located in New York, and not in New York City, but in Croton Falls, New York. And so we're doing kind of a fundraiser online live stream. And we thought we would pick Carly Simon because, again, my history with Carly, and it just felt like right to say, hey, let's do an evening or a set of Carly music. And it was fun because we're not just going to pick the songs that people know. I'm going to pick songs that I think are the deep tracks that I've always loved, that weren't necessarily radio airplay, but we'll also do the You're So Vain and all that. But it's going to be a fun set of music. And I've been talking to Carly and saying, hey, this is what we're doing. What do you think? And little insight into stuff, Like, I didn't know that she was she won a Grammy. I should know this. In 1972, Best New Artist. She won a Grammy. I didn't know that. But one of the things that's happening is this concert's going to be on February 28th of 2021. And it's also, this is the month that she released her first album. So it's 50 years ago, by coincidence. So it all happened for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. And she's 70 now?
No, she's 75.
All right. And she the daughter of the Simon and Schuster?
Richard Simon.
Wow.
Richard Simon, yeah, who started Simon and Schuster. But he left long ago. So, but she was just telling me the company got sold for $3.2 billion. Nice.
Wow. And like Bob Dylan just sold his catalog for 350 million. And I was reading 350 million. But
Sold his whole catalog for $350 million?
yeah, does that seem little or a lot?
Well, it seems, it's hard to say. It's a lot of money. And I guess he's not getting any younger, so why not? But it seems like it's going to keep making a lot of money. So I don't know.
Well, there were stipulations that there were none of the unreleased stuff was in there, none of the stuff from here on in. But there's an interesting case going on. I think his name is Jacques Levy, who co-wrote a lot of Desire and possibly Blood in the Tracks lyrically with him. And there's a lawsuit going on that
he want to sell the stuff.
Yeah, well, he's dead, but his wife has the lawsuit out because he's not getting compensated. So the usual story in the business. So the date, what exactly is this event called on the 28th of February? What's the title?
Well, the music of Carly Simon performed by Peter Calo and Ann Carpenter. It is a fundraiser as well for the Schoolhouse Theater.
Right.
And there'll be tickets available. It's going to be an online ticketed event, which is a good thing. And we go through a ticketing agents. So you go to the link, and you can buy a ticket to get the link.
Right. We'll put that link in the description.
Great.
And maybe we'll even put it up on the screen. All right. So I'm looking for. I saw you last. It was great.
Oh well, Jessica. She pulls it all together.
She does. Well, clearly what she's doing here.
Exactly.
And as I always say, she's on the wrong side of the camera. Are you there, Jessica?
I'm right here.
There you go.
I'm on the right side of the camera now.
Case in point.
Hey,
Yay!
I'm looking forward to doing this with you again, Peter. It's going to be a great time.
What was the word you were really going to say?
I was going to say, well, I can't say it.
You can say what you want on this show,
There's
right?
children watching.
Fuck the children. Well, Marvin Gaye said, "Save the babies, save the babies." Where we're like, what a song. You know what we'll do? Would you mind doing the Proust questionnaire?
Okay.
And again, off the top of your head, whatever comes to your mind. So I'll start with Peter Calo. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Being able to enjoy the now.
Ooh. What is your greatest achievement?
Probably having children and not freaking out.
And there was me and Jessica thinking you were going to say, living this long to come on your show.
That was a close second. Well, that was actually first, but I didn't want to seem like I was pandering.
Jessica was.
We had somebody that said that. Who was it?
Was it Billy Vera? No. Billy Vera. We had Billy Vera on. So anyway,
It's funny.
what is your greatest extravagance if you have one?
I don't know how to answer that question. Not a very extravagant person. Maybe buying a pair of a $400 suit jacket.
A $400 suit jacket? That's cool. I'm a big suit guy. I've spent quite a few thousand
That's what I'm
dollars.
saying. I'm not very extravagant, but for me to spend like more than $20 on something, that's a big deal.
Well, okay. What is your current state of mind?
I'm in a good place, happy place, I
You
guess.
seem like it. No, you do. You really do. What do you consider the most overrated virtue?
I'm not sure if this is really a virtue, but people who are self-righteous, I don't like that.
Right.
To judge others without saying like, whoa, you've got your issues. Let's meet halfway.
Yeah,
So,
that's it.
Kind of
Which is what I think we need in this country. Because I say to people, whatever side you're on politically, let's say that we got to control the other side that we don't like. What are we going to do with all these people?
Yeah.
We share this country, which is what I say to people. The flag behind us and America has kind of become a symbol of the right wing. But this is everybody's.
Yeah.
This flag is everybody's. I hate the fact that people have said to us, and I'm going off show a bit, but that looks right wing. No, it doesn't. It's simply America. The right wing, the left wing, the middle, everybody owns it. So
That's very true. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
I agree with you on everything you said there. So, what is the quality you most like in a person?
The ability to go with the flow.
That's a great answer. My wife would love that one. I'm going to cut this out so she doesn't hear that. You should listen to Peter Calo.
That is a hard thing to do, and I think that when you let go, that's when it all makes sense. When
Right.
What is the thing people say? Man plans, God laughs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense, God laughs.
Well, listen, this year taught me that in a way. I had the whole year planned. We had our band, Celtic Soul, the gigs. I was working on my second book. I had joined the Metropolitan Opera. I was going to operas twice a month. And I had the whole year planned out. Boom. Somebody said, fuck you and your plans.
Everyone I talked to about this last year with the quarantine and all the musicians were doing so well. Everyone was working. I mean, we're musicians, and everyone was like, oh, yeah, man, it's busy and doing some really great stuff. And I'm going, yeah, likewise. In fact, I'll have to tell you a funny thing. The week, everything for me kind of closed down March 12th, right around there. The 19th, because the 17th was St. Patty's Day. That was a Tuesday last year. Thursday, the 19th, we were going to be doing a gigantic tribute concert at Carnegie Hall for Carly Simon. I was in the house band with Will Lee and Jimmy Webb was going to be there. I'm not thinking of, but it was like Mike McDonald. you know, and a lot of people were going to come. And Carly wasn't going to be singing; it was going to be a tribute to her. She was going to be in the audience. As we started getting closer, people started freaking out. It was like an amazing thing because all of a sudden, one Linda Perry was going to be coming from LA. She goes, I can't make it. I'm not going to New York because we started hearing about New York, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it just on the 12th in the morning shut down, and then everybody was saying, "Don't worry, we'll reschedule for October."
Yeah. We were the same here. We were rehearsing. We had a gig in Vermont on the 17th. We had a gig out in Arizona.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and my last gig was pushing it. It was on March 14th. So, but anyway,
That was my last live gig. I flew down to Georgia via the Westchester County Airport. Nobody in the airport. Nobody on the plane. Going to Georgia. Georgia was like nothing was happening, and it wasn't down there. And then came back and never left my house.
where do you live again? In Westchester?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. When my daughter actually just moved in to an apartment in Westchester. She works in Westchester Hospital, so she's close. And my wife is originally from Westchester.
Oh,
Um,
and
you
your daughter's a nurse,
yeah, both of them are.
RNs, and my wife is an RN as well.
Oh wow, whereabouts?
She works for Caremount, one of the clinics.
I know. Yeah.
Pediatrics, and she went to school in London, in North Middlesex North. I don't know if you know that.
I know the name.
But the funny thing is, here's the funny coincidence. So she's going to school there. This is when my mother's still alive, and I say, "Hey, I'm dating this woman. She's studying to be a nurse in London at North Middlesex," and she goes, she says this is so a matter of fact. She goes, "Oh, your brother was born there." like, really? I'm like, "Oh, really?" Yeah. She, "Oh, yeah, we used to live there in Edmonton." You know.
I love that stuff that comes out. The older my mother gets, the more crazy stories we hear. She tells me her mother and father were both, you mentioned pioneers, they were non-drinkers and they loved opera. And that skipped a generation, and I don't drink and I love opera. So something came along there. But we always had this feeling that they were very conservative and they were very religious, which didn't pass to me at all. But she tells me out of the blue one day that they had tattoos and that they hid guns from the black and tans. They were on the IRA side, obviously, and they hid guns from the black and tans in the bed sheets when they would come knocking the door. We're like, why didn't you tell us this 20 years ago?
Funny. Oh, that's funny. It's crazy. Yeah, crazy stuff.
And this is what the questionnaire does. It really digs in. So, which words or phrases do you most overuse, Peter?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, oof. I was going to say before I thought I heard which word is most overused. I was going to say not overused, but I don't like that it's used. The way it's used is patriot.
Ah.
I think that word. First of all, I don't know what it really means. I mean, it's an abstract word because people go, "Oh, I hear it on right wing radio, and I'll hear, 'Oh, you're a good patriot,' and I'm going, 'Oh, don't.' For somebody calling you up on the telephone, you're a good patriot."
Bullshit,
But for me, overused word, I really don't know. I don't know if maybe Jessica can answer that question. Maybe,
Actually,
I know what it is. Sorry.
that's a good thing it's a good word. But what you said about patriot, there's a great saying, patriotism is the last bastion of the scoundrel. I forget who it was. It might have been George Bernard Shaw said it. So, you know, I'm always careful when people tell me how brilliant they are at being a patriot or a Christian or whatever. You know, now you get me suspicious. Anyway, what do you most value in your friends?
That they like me.
That's a good one. My answer to that is their absence. I'm half joking. Okay, which historical figure do you most identify with?
You know, I read a lot of history, and I have to say I really don't identify. I admire, but I don't know if that's the same thing as identifying with. I don't really have anyone I identify with.
Who do you admire?
Oh boy, that's endless because everyone who, I mean, if you read a biography, I mean, for instance, Thomas Jefferson. I mean, been a lot of. He's just a human being, but I like the amazing part of people's lives. Like, I mean, certainly think about the people in this country that went west back in the 1800s, and they're going through snowstorms, and they don't have LL Bean. You know, um, I admire anybody who has a story and that just kind of went through the door, or did something beyond. That's the amazing thing. But I just like reading biographies and history and the amazing things that people have done.
What you ever? I read a 4-volume biography. I don't remember most of it, but on Dumas Malone wrote some great stuff about Jefferson. 2 revolutions. I mean, holy shit!
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, well, this country, I mean, if you think what we've gone through now, because we're living it, so we're like, we're in the petri dish of history of what's going on. But it's always been like this in the States. Some sort of thing was going on crazy,
Yeah.
I mean, when Washington was president, they said this country's got about 12 years. So.
Well, Peter, that leads us brilliantly into our last question, which is the title of our show. What is America to you, Peter?
What is America to me? Well, America is a wonderful family with a dysfunctional history and a wonderful future. This is a great place. It's a dysfunctional family, but with a wonderful dysfunctional family, and if we can hold it together, we've talked about this, but it's a great place to live. It's got some problems, and maybe we just need to take a look at those and work together rather than having people of power and people in the media kind of trying to make a story and alienate us from each other. What we should do is see how similar we are. That's what we're trying to fight for, right?
Absolutely, and the division is intentional.
Well, it's a way to gain power over a large amount of people. I mean, I've just started reading Trevor Noah's book, and he said, imagine a country where the whites are outnumbered 1 to 9 to 1, I should say, and they were able to manipulate because they divided the people because of the tribes that exist there. So they would play them off of each other, and that's a metaphor for what's going on here.
Yeah.
We're not unlike. I mean, if you met somebody, I'm not a Trump supporter, but if I met somebody who was, and we didn't talk politics, it'd all be good. The minute the politics come in, it gets their agitation can appear.
Yeah. Well, what I even said to my daughter the other day, a lot of people say, what do you think of this new politician? And I try to say to them, imagine somebody just picking somebody random and saying, this person is going to lead you now and make decisions for you.
Yeah.
You would be like, hang on a second. And what we end up with, we see 12 people up there talking on both sides. They're narrowed down. And then we get 2 people who we don't know anything about, who are extremely wealthy and have sponsors like you wouldn't believe deciding what's going on. To me, that's not voting. That's just kind of picking one or the other. And I'm not talking about the last election at all, or even the one before that. It's just, and look, I could go on forever, but 250 years or so, and we've had now 46 presidents. We've had all but one were white, all but one were a Republican or Democrat. Fillmore, whatever that guy's name was, he was like a Green Party or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember his first name.
Yeah. It is amazing.
And still yet to have a woman president,
Yeah.
So
a
lot.
It's coming.
It's coming, no doubt about it. Well, that'd be great. I'd love it. I'd love it. It's great to see that so many women in power. Women are phenomenal, All right, Peter, that brings us to the end of our show. And as we said, we normally try to shoot for 20. There was no way you and me were going to stick at 20 minutes. So listen, we can't thank you enough. I enjoyed, this is the third time to speak, and I feel like I know you a long, long time.
Well, it's a pleasure, and I can't wait to meet you in person and do some playing with you.
Yeah. I look forward to getting back to that too. Peter, oh, here's a guitar. You want to play us out in a song?
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me know what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold me tight. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, in other words, in other words, I love you.
Excellent. You know, that was...
I love hamming it up on that song. I just love that.
Great.
In other words, with the vibrato.
Ah, it's the best. It was written by a guy called Bart Howard.
Oh, that's right. Who wrote "Piece of My Heart"? Right?
I did not know that. I didn't know he wrote that. There you go.
No. What's his last name? Bart.
Howard.
No. I'm thinking of somebody else.
Right. It's a great song. If I start talking Sinatra,
you know that Jimmy Webb wrote a song,
didn't we?
Yeah, and Sinatra loved him. He used to call him the Kid.
The Kid, that's right. Yeah, Sinatra did that on an album back in the '60s in reprise. But when he went into the Sinatra concert years, he did so many great concerts. But there's one particular one in the Royal, not the Royal Albert Hall, the Royal Concert Hall in England. Yeah. And he sings a version of that, Peter, blow your mind. And he also sings "I Get Along Without You" very well.
I just thought of something. I don't want to interrupt you, but Jake Holmes.
I know him.
He lives
the album they wrote, Watertown.
I know. I was watching, have you seen the documentary, the 2-part documentary on Netflix?
3 times.
What?
3 times.
3 times.
Oh my God. I watch that.
Oh, it's so good. But anyway, they spend a whole little segment on that album. And I didn't know Jake did that. I worked with Jake a few times, not a lot, but we're good friends. I love Jake. And I was going to say, you should have Jake on your program.
Well, Joe Johnson just said that to me a while ago. Quick story on Jake. I was doing a gig, the living room songwriter thing down in Cold Spring. And I met this big, tall American guy. And he said to me after I sang one of my songs, he says, you got a hell of a voice there, and I said something in so Irish, or like, I was being modest or being afraid that, do you know where the Irish and English are? And he goes, if I had a voice like yours, I'd have a big head. And I just thought that was funny. Next day, I'm told that's Jake Holmes that wrote Watertown. It's one of my favorite Sinatra albums, and he co-wrote it with Bob Gaudio from the Four Seasons. And,
great.
Oh, do you know the album?
I don't know it. I want to go check it out because it's kind of an anomaly record. It's a concept record.
Yes.
And I want to check it out. But I am so, the more I hear about Jake Holmes, because that whole song, Dazed and Confused.
Yeah.
He wrote it and they stole it from him.
Yeah. They settled out of court.
But finally, when I met Jake many, many years ago, I mean, I didn't say this to him immediately, but I said, have you ever thought of suing them? I mean, they made a lot of money off of that song. I was kind of busy, but I think now that he's older and he probably could use the money, I don't really know, but he deserves the money because I think somebody did a documentary on Led Zeppelin, how basically every song they ever wrote is derived or stolen from somebody.
That's crazy.
But,
that's crazy.
in their defense, I guess they just did it in their way, and it's Led Zeppelin. I don't really know, but
Yeah.
that was an apparent steal.
Yeah.
And confused. But
Totally.
Jake is an amazing guy, and his spoken word is amazing.
I witnessed it. His lyrics, I think he's one of the great underappreciated American lyricists. Check out, I'll send the album to you, but Watertown, my favorite song is a song called Michael and Peter. Brilliant song. Oh, brilliant. Anyway, Peter, like I said, we could talk all day and all these connections.
Wonderful.
I love it.
Thanks again for having me. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica.
Peter,
Thank you, Peter.
We'll talk, okay?
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
Peter, an absolute pleasure to meet you and interview you and talk to you. We could have talked for hours. Thank you so much, Peter. That was Peter Calo. As you heard, what a guitar player. How he did that intro. Sometimes I get mixed up because we talk before and we talk after. He played like that Django Reinhardt thing. I don't think we recorded it, but maybe we did. Who knows? Brilliant. We're going to put the link for the Carly Simon show, which is recorded here at Songboat Studios. Jessica at the hell and making everything sound and look beautiful. I got some going on here. So anyway, that was great. I feel like I know that guy years.
Yeah.
And of course, I always say, are we going to bring Sinatra up? Fucking yes.
And he's a fellow Canadian too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, where's he from?
I think he's from around Pickering or something like that.
Wow.
I'm not sure. Oh wait, no. I think he's from out west.
Oh.
I think it's.
But I did hear like almost like that boat host kind of thing at times there.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. What a nice guy. He has lovely hair. Okay, so that is the end of our show for now. I won't get into the interviews we have coming up because some of them are waiting on for people to finish albums. Again, please subscribe. We've frozen on the subscribers. Well, it's slowly moving up. Thanks for the comments. As always, Sam and Karen leading the race there, or whatever the hell it's called. And we will be back soon from me and Jessica.
Bye-bye.
And thanks for tuning in to What Is America to You. Goodbye for now.
Driving along, minding my own business, heading east through the Kentucky rain. There on the radio, Johnny Cash was singing. I heard myself just to see if I still feel pain.